Welcome everyone to the Phoenix Report. I'm Jack Connor. I'm out here literally in line to see an advanced screening of Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. As I record this, it is Monday, March 21st, 2016. Now the thing is, I had originally recorded an entire preview section similar to what Antionio and I did for our Star Wars preview/review. Go back and listen to it, by the way. So it's a shame. It was me and three of my buddies, Antionio and my other buddies, John and Jason. We recorded some stuff. It was a great conversation. I don't know what happened, though. None of it got recorded. So I'm going to have to catch up with those guys after the movie. But I do have another friend of mine here, a guy I met, and this is sort of like how we got into this advanced screening, by the way. About a year ago, when the first trailer for Batman vs. Superman dropped, let's see, they had announced that all across the country, the United States, for those of you listening abroad, that they were showing a free screening of this trailer on an IMAX screen. Now, I had already seen it on YouTube during the day, but I'd done a little, I'm based in Orlando. I looked it up, and they were showing it here in Orlando, so I went and figured, all right, well, I figured I might as well get some free merchandise and maybe meet some other people who were into the movie.
Exactly.
And but they announced at the end of it, all right, thank you for coming. On behalf of Warner Brothers Pictures and director Zack Snyder, everyone in the crowd will be receiving a free ticket to an advanced screening. And here we are today. And I met a guy in the crowd, kept in touch, really cool dude. Please welcome my buddy Seamus Pautz.
How you doing, everybody? It's good to be here. I'm actually really excited. It's a long line, and hopefully we'll be able to get in, but we'll see.
It's crazy how stuff like this can bring together people who would otherwise be strangers, but because I knew coming to the trailer thing that it would be for the diehards, people who would be willing to do something like that, even though it's for free, but here we are, man, and I mean, just how excited are you for this movie?
I am so stoked. I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm actually able to see this a week in advance. Like, when I saw the announcement for the trailer, it's like, I had already seen the trailer too, but I was like, there's got to be something to this. I don't know what, but I was like, you know what, I'm going out here.
Right. I mean, in the internet age, they would have to throw you something a little extra.
I was thinking maybe a T-shirt, honestly. I didn't think we would actually be able to see the movie. So
for free.
Exactly.
I mean, assuming they let us in. Now, we're outside right now. They overbooked the theater.
Yeah.
I mean, they're giving the press first dibs on it, but so I don't know if we'll get in, but I mean, look, worst comes to worst, we don't get in, we'll see it with everyone else.
Exactly.
It's not like we would never see it.
This is icing on the cake.
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of the experience.
It's a nice bonus. Now,
exactly.
Now, what is your history with these characters, with Batman and Superman?
Oh, I've loved the characters ever since like the animated series. Obviously, for me, like the Joker is Mark Hamill. I knew that before I even knew who Mark Hamill was and everything. So
you and I are around the same age.
Exactly.
I think you're a little younger than me, but still, we kind of grew up with that being the case, and with Kevin Conroy being Batman, and the Superman animated series, which is fantastic.
Oh,
I loved it.
Mm-hmm. And I also saw the crossover events, like the World's Finest and stuff.
Yeah.
I always loved that art style that they had.
Yeah, Bruce Timm.
Yeah, exactly. It's always, that's part of what really drew me to the cartoons initially. Like, as even growing up, I was like, those characters look so cool. But I've always loved these characters since before I could remember. So I'm really looking forward to this. And
I mean, this is one of those things where it's like you almost think like, how have they not done this sooner?
Yeah.
But they're doing it now. I mean, got to give credit where credit's due, man. If it wasn't for the Avengers being as huge as it was, I don't know if we would be here.
That's true.
But I mean, hey, it's possible. We like both. I mean, I grew up being a DC guy, but I love the Marvel stuff too.
I'm honestly even both sides. Like, I enjoy, to be honest, I actually enjoy reading the comics, the DC comics, more than I enjoy reading Marvel. But obviously the Marvel movies, like when I first saw the original Spider-Man movie back when it came out, that was like with Tobey Maguire, and like I loved the Green Goblin and everything. Of course, I was like 12 at the time, so it wasn't. But like it's always been a big part of my life is superheroes, so it's really cool that we're able to see this is kind of like a culmination almost.
Exactly, and I'm sure watching the cartoons led you to go and read the comics and check out the movies and TV shows. I mean, I grew up with Dean Cain being my guy for Superman.
Oh my goodness, back in the day.
Now, my wife loved that show, but she loved Dean Cain for different reasons. But that's another story. But she's my Lois. Honey, if you're listening, I love you. And so here we are, at this advanced screening. It's pretty rad. I remember doing something like this for The Dark Knight when it came out in 2008.
Really?
Yeah, that was incredible. And so here we are. We don't know if we're going to get in, but if we do, it's going to be great.
At least it's warmer in here. So.
You know, people keep on saying, like, the big question is who will win. And honestly, I think people who are concerned about that are sort of missing the point of the movie.
The fans win. That's the whole point. I mean, the fact that we get to actually see these characters together is the whole aspect of this movie. So I'm really excited about that.
Because those of us know that they're getting to the Justice League, but it's about how they get there.
Exactly.
So, anyways, they're telling us to shut off the cell phones. We're going to go in and see it. Stick around for part 2. We're going to have spoilers. Seamus is going to be back along with John, Jason, and Antonio. We'll see you later. Bye. All right, guys. I'm Seamus and I are here.
What's up?
We have just gotten out of our initial viewing of Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Yo, wow.
I mean, I don't even know where to start, but let's. I mean, I will say that for this movie had so many just incredible moments, and it's it's hard when you're a fan of these characters to go in and when you know a lot, or you know a few things going into it as we do.
Exactly.
I wouldn't try to say that we're experts on the character or anything, but we're certainly fans, and we know a few things.
Exactly.
But we go in kind of having an idea of what the movie's going to be and
exactly.
and where it's going to go, and you try to be objective about these things.
Absolutely.
And it's very tough to do because we're so passionate about these characters. But I mean, it was just a powerful movie, and I mean, let's talk about the good things first, because I mean, from the moment it opened, just so much great imagery. You saw the thing about what happened to the Waynes, opening with that, with Ben doing a voiceover.
There was a lot of good, like, even from the cinematography perspective, it was a very beautiful opening sequence, and I loved it. Like, it was a very good way of introducing Batman to this universe. Yeah, I mean,
Zack Snyder is just a master of visuals.
Absolutely.
He's just incredible. He just I mean, in terms of scope, but still making it look relatively grounded in reality.
Exactly.
Which he is a very, very fine line to walk. And a lot of times he's prone to like very surreal like images and dream sequences, which there were a few in this movie.
We'll get to those.
Some of which I think worked better than others.
Yeah. Some of it seemed a couple times it did, like there were. Are we doing full spoilers?
Yeah, I mean, if you're listening right now, we're about to spoil this movie because I mean, there's no way of getting around it. We just saw it.
Yeah.
I left the tag on here. I warned you guys, if you're listening this far, if you don't want to be spoiled, 3, 2, 1.
Well, okay.
Spoilers territory. Let's do this.
All right. Well, some of the dream sequences honestly seemed a little jolted, to be honest. Like
a little bit, and I guess possible foreshadowing.
Yeah.
The craziest one. I mean, one of the cooler ones that we saw was the dream sequence that we had kind of known was coming, as far as the desert, sort of a post-apocalyptic thing.
Good.
I mean, it looked like something out of like something that Grant Morrison drew.
Absolutely, yeah. And I really like the imagery as far as like how they had Batman
in sort of like desert fatigues and
really
leading
cool.
like an army, only to have that like flip the script, and it was like a fantasy, like a nightmare sequence, I should say, of him imagining a world run by an evil Superman, and there was like buildings going down and what looked like parademons.
Yeah.
From Apocalypse, and there was a big Omega symbol
a giant
in there.
Omega sign. I was like, wow. So they're kind of throwing in some references.
To which I'm wondering, how would Bruce know about that?
Of course, you could just say that. I mean, if you really wanted to just get nitpicky, you could just say he's kind of just projecting thing, and it's Zack Snyder kind of just throwing some Easter eggs at us and everything. I don't really know how you justify that.
I'm thinking in the context of the movie logically, but I mean it was just amazing sequence. But I'm thinking like, wait a minute. Like, where is this coming from?
It
Like,
really,
what's...
Yeah, it didn't really make any sense in the actual context of anything.
I mean, unless it seemed like Lex was aware of the coming of Darkseid, at least... But by then, he probably wouldn't have put that into his files.
Yeah. There would have been something about Apocalypse.
The image of Superman just like burning dudes with heat vision was wacky. That was like something right out of Red Sun.
Mm-hmm.
That graphic novel.
That's a good run. That's a good one to read. But it was
there. There were so many awesome moments in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But and the story was very complex as we had predicted.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just. I guess. The story was very layered. Had a lot of different things going on.
Yeah.
A lot of as I had kind of suspected, Lex Luthor pulling the strings.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Jesse Eisenberg's portrayal of Lex Luthor for a minute.
Wow.
He had a take on it.
Yeah, he definitely made it his own. I'll say that much. He kind of took it in a different direction than anybody's ever taken it. Like you had Kevin Spacey do it in Superman Returns.
And Spacey was kind of doing a riff on Hackman,
exactly,
basically.
and Gene Hackman in the original, and so but this one, I'd never seen anything like this. He was kind of making it a really.
It almost seemed like there were shades of Hackman where he was like very big and very grandiose, but he played it much more like manic and psychotic.
I always pictured Lex,
but still like very intelligent.
Yeah.
Like very calculating, but very manic as well, like desperate. I mean, much more so than we've ever really seen Lex. Like typically in the modern age, he's been like sort of the suave like businessman.
Yeah, that's always how I pictured him too.
And sort of gangster type. Like he always pulls it behind. He's always pulling the strings, but comes off smelling like a rose, and never like tips his hand too much. Mm-hmm. In this one, it seemed like just all bets were off at this point. I mean, he was a businessman, obviously, but he played it with much more of like a manic energy than we had seen. But that scene towards the end though, where he's in jail, like that was
him going completely off the
that was end. Terrifying. I mean, Jesse Eisenberg, man, he is an amazing actor.
He really is, and he portrayed his take on this character perfectly, I think. But I guess it's up to you when you watch the movie how you would, whether you like it or not. There are certain things I did like about his character, just the fact that he made no qualms about being, the enemy, the villain, and he felt like it was his duty to bring down Superman, essentially. So
and throwing in like the spirituality aspect, like God is dead and stuff like that. I mean, depending on how you feel about that or what you believe, that's some heavy stuff to deal with.
It was really, really it went into a lot of spiritual stuff and a lot of psychological stuff. Like you could just from what he was talking about with his his father's past and everything, you could tell he really delved deep into this character. It was really cool to see certain aspects of it, but I don't know. As a general rule, I don't know if I liked everything about the character, though, because it almost seemed a little too much at times.
Right. It almost seemed like it got into, like, Tony Stark on cocaine vibe.
Especially with twitches and everything.
Right. Like, almost Joker-ish, but not really.
Yeah, he was... It seemed like he was... We still... Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. Are we rolling? Is it frozen? Okay. Yeah, basically, the thing that struck me about this movie is, I mean, we knew it was going to go dark.
Yeah.
Let me just preface this by saying that Ben Affleck, oh my God, if there were any doubts about Ben Affleck being Batman.
As Batman, he was great.
Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. He did a great job just playing the character, and
I mean, he brought a weight to it,
mm-hmm.
emotionally, and he knew how to play the moments as Bruce Wayne.
Yep. He was very, and just how he carried himself, and nobody, I don't think anybody had any doubts about the physicality of Ben Affleck as Batman.
No,
So
I mean, I did feel like he kind of fell into the trap of attacking Superman and just got a little unhinged after that Senate bombing.
Yeah.
Almost like he fell into it a little too easily.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He fell into it too easily, and it seemed like he fell out of it too easily too, almost. Like
that moment when Lois got in and the whole deal with, he said, is like, Martha, please save Martha. That was just a heartbreaking scene on so many levels.
It really was.
Knowing that Clark, knew, like, thought he was going to die, and he's like, just save my mom, and stuff like that. It's like, oh, I mean, and then, the connection to Bruce's mother, also named Martha.
Yeah.
That was pretty intense.
It was a lot of intense moments in this movie, and especially between the two characters, it seemed like, when they were fighting. I'll say this, it was not your classic action scene when they were fighting either.
No. I mean, that brawl was, it was everything we had hoped it would be.
Oh, absolutely. That was the best part of the movie. You could tell, like, even in the IMAX theater, you could tell, like, it went full on, the aspect ratio. Everything was huge. All the movements were huge, and you really I honestly felt really worried. Like, I didn't know how it was going to turn out.
Right.
Like, either of those characters could have died at that point. Like, I had no idea, it felt like. But...
And as we saw towards the end,
Superman...
It looked like one of them did.
Yeah.
Apparently,
they went full Doomsday. They went full...
You saw me, man. Like, my jaw hit the floor. I was like, you don't think they're really going to do it. When it's like they moved into like a Superman funeral scene and Clark Kent being, pronounced dead, like, oh my God. I was like, oh my God, they're really doing this.
It was hard to believe. I was like, that's how they're ending the movie? I was like, there's got to be something more. Maybe like, maybe he's... I didn't think he was actually dead. I really didn't. I thought maybe he was disguising,
like faked out or something like that.
Exactly.
But just I don't know. Like obviously the Doomsday reveal got kind of shown in that second trailer that came out.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that would have like blown people's minds more.
I felt like it would have
had that not been shown. But I mean, so much happened in this movie.
There was a lot.
There was so much happening where it almost, I think people were worried that the movie was gonna sort of like buckle under the weight of all the stuff happening, and I don't know if that's the case or not. It's hard to tell. I mean, like I said, it's hard to be objective about these things because we're going into it as fans and we're going into it biased.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm still getting over the fact that, it was Batman and Superman on...
God damn, there was just so much to take in on this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how subsequent viewings will be. I mean, I'm sure as time goes on, we'll get an understanding of it and obviously they're setting something up for Justice League.
Right.
Kind of hard to have Justice League without Superman there.
Without the leader, basically. Yeah, it's
a
weird way to set it up.
They had like the coffin like start to move towards the end. Did like sort of like an X-Men 3 deal where it's like you're not sure if people are dead or coming back or powered or not.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wanted that feeling towards the end of it where I was happy and charged and yeah, man, Justice League is coming, and I wanted that feeling of triumph and seeing the three stand together, which we did have those moments in there.
Mm-hmm.
We saw the shots of Aquaman and Barry Allen.
I will say, the reveals of the Justice League members was awesome.
I mean, people were cheering in the theater.
I felt like
with Wonder Woman showing up in costume, people, I mean, especially every woman in that crowd was screaming like, yeah.
Yeah, it was great just to see how she stepped in and she held her own in the fight.
I mean, it looked like it was right out of a Jim Lee Trinity comic.
Absolutely.
Seeing those three stand together. It was incredible.
That was really cool.
But the ending.
Yeah, the ending.
With Superman being killed by Doomsday.
Mm-hmm.
and staying dead, apparently. And Clark Kent, like, I mean, even if they bring back Superman, like, what are they like? Does this mean he's not going to be Clark Kent again? And is he engaged to Lois?
Yeah,
which they threw the engagement ring thing at the end of there, which was kind of a strange beat. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
With like.
It didn't really seem...
it just seemed like that should have been a bigger moment than it was.
Mm-hmm.
And, unfortunately, Henry Cavill, again, he's a fantastic Superman and did great as Clark Kent. I think, matched the tone of it, but it just seemed like we didn't really have enough time with him, doing like character stuff, establishing who Superman is and who Clark is a little bit. And I felt there was a little bit of a missed opportunity there.
There really was. I mean, there was a lot of focus on Batman in this movie, and there was a lot of, even bringing in Wonder Woman as well, so it didn't really seem like they had time to develop Superman's character even more.
And what in the hell was that dream sequence of Bruce being visited by apparently someone in the future?
Oh, I know.
I thought that was the Flash, but it looked like an African American gentleman.
Well,
in a mask. It wasn't Cyborg. I know that.
Maybe it's Wally West.
Maybe someone from the Legion of Superheroes. If they're getting into that now and time travel, or if that was just a dream sequence saying Lois Lane is the key.
Yeah.
I know they're setting up for future movies.
Yeah.
Okay, I know that the story is not over yet. Mm-hmm. But I gotta say, I can't, upon this first viewing, I can't help but feel a little disappointed about how this turned out, and I feel horrible for saying that because I wanted this movie to be amazing, and in a lot of ways it was. Mm-hmm. I worry that this is kind of falling prey to like what Batman Returns was in 1992, where. Yeah. The first movie was very successful, mm-hmm. but then it turned into less of a Superman or Batman movie and more of a Zack Snyder movie.
Yeah, you could definitely.
And I don't know if that's fair to say, and maybe we need to see this again, but it's just, I just can't help but feeling a little disappointed. And yes, I'm biased, and yes, I know I'm a Superman fan, but for a character like that to be dead at the end of the movie, I can't tell. I mean, it seemed like equal parts like a bold move.
Yeah, it definitely was a ballsy move for sure.
But should it have happened? Like I don't like what. Like, where does this lead to? Is Justice League about trying to get him back from the dead, which that opens up a whole can of worms.
Maybe what they, this is just pure speculation, but maybe they're assembling the Justice League in honor of Superman at some point, and then maybe he'll come back. I don't know, but that would be an interesting way of doing it. It would be. I
guess, but imagine if Iron Man had died at the end of the Avengers.
Yeah. But we can't compare.
I know. They're two different movies, but still, it's just. I don't know, man.
I questioned a lot of the decisions in this movie, to be honest. One thing that personally bothered me a lot, this is a nitpicking thing, but having, as you mentioned earlier, as dark as it went, having Batman, it seemed very obvious that Batman gave no qualms about killing people. I mean, he
didn't outright murder people, no. But in some of those car chases and the Batwing shooting things, and I doubt everyone made it out alive.
No, I seriously doubt it. I seriously doubt that guy with the flamethrower made it out alive.
No, and yet he straight up shot him with and lit his flamethrower thing on fire. I mean, I get it, to save Martha, and
yeah.
I get it. It was a desperate situation, and he had to do what he had to do, but. It just didn't seem very Batman-like.
No, it really didn't.
It seemed like we were getting into Watchmen territory here.
It really did. More Rorschach than Batman, and more
Maybe that's an extreme example, I know, but it's just.
But
it's just that there were so much good things about this movie that we liked, but still, it was just I don't know.
And I'll admit, I went into it looking you know, I wasn't looking for it to be bad, but I was like, you know what, I am going to try my best. Like you said,
to be objective about
to be
this.
completely objective.
I never wanted to be that stereotypical comic or movie fan that picks apart every little thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was willing to let some stuff go, like Superman and Doomsday taking a nuke and not dying. You know, I mean, granted, he got messed up pretty bad after that.
Superman, it took it, but it was only like a couple seconds, and he was bad.
Yeah,
too.
he got a little sunbath, and he was good after that.
Mm-hmm.
Which it's a bit of a cheat, but I'll let it go.
Yeah, that stuff like that didn't bother me at all. I mean, that's a superhero movie. You're gonna have stuff like that.
Yeah.
But some of the other things, there were some decisions that were made that I don't know. I'm with you on this one. I'm slightly disappointed. I mean, I loved, like I said, I loved seeing Batman and Superman together in a movie, but I'm slightly disappointed, like, in some aspects of the execution.
I'm curious to see how the general public is going to react to this thing.
Yeah.
I don't have a good feeling about how this is going to be received. I feel like
it's definitely going to be mixed. I'll say that much right now.
I don't know. It's just there was so much riding on this movie and so much good buzz going into it, but yet I still feel a sense of disappointment. And there were so many cool things in this movie.
Yeah. Oh man.
It just there was so much stuff happening, but just the ending. Like where do they go with that?
It wasn't a solid ending.
I felt like in the same way. There's sort of that same feeling I had at the end of The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
That sense of like almost finality, but like not sure. It's just like, are they doing this just for the sake of doing it?
Just a kind of a wink and a nod type thing.
Which I don't know if that's a good strategy or not.
It's not if you're wanting to. I mean, you want to. I feel like this kind of movie should have ended on a more triumphant note. Of course, maybe we're not. There are different ways of doing endings and everything, but it's hard. It's hard to understand where they were coming from with this ending.
Warner Brothers has a plan in place for these movies.
Yeah.
They've invested a lot of time, a lot of money into getting this together, and they have films set up through 2020 for these characters.
So it would seem like they're pretty confident about it.
So for them to pull a move like that, I wonder how the general public is going to react to this. Because if this movie is not successful, I don't know if I don't know how that bodes for the Justice League and for the future of the DC expanded universe or cinematic. I mean, because there was a lot riding on this thing, and I feel like in a couple instances that they didn't quite deliver.
No.
And I'm very disappointed in that. And maybe my opinion will change upon subsequent viewings of this. I hope it does. But I can't help but have this sort of overwhelming feeling of disappointment right now.
Yeah.
And maybe I expected too much out of this. Maybe we all did. I mean, I was so excited going into this. I was more excited going into this than I was for Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
Wow.
and I know that's a bold thing to say, but that's how much I care about these two characters.
You are a diehard DC fan.
Yes, well, and these two guys especially, Batman and Superman. Like, I was always a Superman guy, but Batman was a very close second.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, little stuff like, I wish they could have expanded on like the Robin suit and what happened with that.
Yeah, we just kind of got a glimpse. Like, the only thing we really saw was what you saw in the trailer.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, look, there was a lot going on in this. I can let that go, but I don't know. I don't know where they're going with this. I know Suicide Squad is coming out this summer, and that looks really good. I'm
looking forward to that. I mean,
I am too.
Yeah.
I am too, and I'm not saying that I'm not looking forward to the Justice League movies. It's just like, man, did they write themselves into a corner on this one?
It would seem that way. Of
course. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the story is not over yet.
No, it's not.
I hope it's not, but I don't know. I guess I just feel a little bit disappointed, and it
Yeah.
sucks to say that because there was so much right done about this movie, and I know we're probably repeating ourselves, but it bears repeating.
It really does. I mean, there was a lot of good. Was a lot of good in this movie, and I'm not gonna say don't see it.
No, I mean,
well, I mean,
in the next couple days as we record this, people
Yeah.
are going to ask me what it was like, and I don't want to spoil it for them, and I don't know what I should say, because I don't want to say that I was disappointed, because
Yeah.
I don't want them going in with bad expectations of it. I don't know. I
I would say just you'd have to see it for yourself. You have to make your own decision on this one. There's good and there's bad, but there's a decent mix of both. It was definitely a really good movie going experience.
So I know this isn't over yet. We have they said they have a Justice League 2-part movie coming out in the next couple of years. They have a Wonder Woman movie coming out. Aquaman, Flash, Cyborg, Green Lantern Corps, they're all getting their own movies. Batman is getting a few solo movies as well, I think with Affleck directing, which should be cool.
That would be pretty interesting. We'll see what direction he goes with that. See if he continues in this way.
But really, guys, you're going to kill Superman in this one. I can't get over that.
Oh man, it was.
And then bring him back from the dead. Like that's
like straight up just comic book trope 101. Like that's what it seems like all comic book movies have done is bring somebody back.
Well, I mean, that's what comic books themselves have done. But
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see how the public reacts to this. I'll be interested. I'm guessing it's not going to be very well received by a lot of critics.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe it will. I don't know. But man, they really went there. They really went dark on this one, and I don't know. It's. I'm speechless. I don't know what else to say.
There was like even when the credits were rolling, I didn't know what to think.
It was a lot to process, and
really
maybe the more we watch this, the better it'll be. But I'm telling you, man, Zack Snyder, if you're listening, fix this.
Yeah. What'd you do, man?
Fix this. Do not mess this up for us.
Wait, I don't know what you're thinking, man, but you gotta fix it.
I'm hoping there's a bigger plan involved, and that we can get this back on track. I mean, even if they bring Superman back, does that mean he isn't Clark Kent anymore?
Yeah.
Which that would be a shame.
It feels like it's alienating a lot of fans doing what they've done right now.
It's just I don't want this to be made on hubris. Well, it's like, well, this is our story. We're going to do it this way. And because, I mean, look, all that is well and good, but there's some things you just don't do.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know unless they're doing like an adaptation of the death and return of Superman in the comics, which, look, I mean, all props to that story. That got me reading when I was a kid, but I was thinking, I'm like, I hope they don't make this into a movie, because once you have superheroes literally coming back from the dead, unless it's, the Lazarus Pit.
Yeah.
That's a tough sell, man.
And honestly, it just seemed like a lot with, combining basically, a Batman versus Superman storyline with like a Death of Superman storyline too. It just seemed like they were trying to do too much in this movie sometimes, It's just, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if, like, even if they took Doomsday out of the equation on this one, you could have still had a movie there.
Oh yeah.
You know?
And they, some sort of other device.
Or,
Lex Luthor could have
throw in like Metallo as like the heater or something, and there you go. But I mean, I guess they needed a reason to get Wonder Woman into the deal, and she was awesome. But I just, it's a shame. I wanted to like this movie a lot more than I did.
I absolutely did too.
But I mean, killing Superman, like, really? I don't know.
It was an interesting decision, to say the least.
So, we're going to have a third part to this. Seamus is going to come back, and we're going to meet up with, my friends Antonio, John, and Jason, just to get them to weigh in on this. Because I originally had them in part one. Obviously, that didn't get recorded, but I'm interested to hear their take on it, and we're going to get a group chat onto this. Yeah, I mean, this happened.
Yeah, it was a fun experience.
It was. I don't know. I wish I felt a little bit better coming out of the theater.
True.
Than I did going into it.
Yeah.
So.
Agreed.
That's it. Stay tuned for part 3. We're going to have the group discussion, spoilers. I mean, we've spoiled it already, but I mean, yeah, stay tuned for more of the Phoenix Report in a little bit. Okay, so we are back for part 3, I guess, like sort of the post-discussion / wrap-up. You heard earlier the review that Seamus and I gave, once we got out of the theater. And Seamus, you're back here with us.
Yep. It's good to be here, guys.
Very cool. And joining us, we have 2 good friends of mine, starting with local filmmaker, Full Sail grad, really a brilliant director, writer, filmmaker, Antionio Camunas.
Thank you. Good to be here.
And also joining us is probably my best buddy from work, over at Leidos, the company I work for during the day. He's joining us all the way from Melbourne. He and I have probably been talking about this movie almost every day for the last 3 years or so, because we were both really big fans of it. John Walters.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here and excited to talk about Batman v Superman.
All right, well, you guys have heard what Seamus and I thought of it. I'm interested in getting you guys' take of it. Antonio, do you want to start?
Well, I don't know. I've been calling this movie Beavis, but nobody seems to get it. I'm like, hey, have you watched Beavis yet? And they're like, what are you talking about? Beavis, bro. Like, Beavis?
Right. It's kind of like
Beavis.
Kind of like how you call a president of the United States POTUS.
POTUS. Yeah. And then I have to specify. BVSS? BVS? I don't know. Anyway. That's kind of like
that's something I didn't think of to sound it out phonetically like that.
Yeah, and I'm like, hey, Beavis.
I'm not going to unhear that now.
Beavis. Anyways, I actually just when I left work, I sat down with a coworker and had basically, an unrecorded podcast.
Yeah.
About our feelings. I mean. She loved it. She was ecstatic about it, and
Nice.
she was there sitting down with her Justice League graphic novel, or like comic book collection. She was like super pumped, and I'm like, so can you explain why you love this movie? And just comparing ideas. Anyways, my take on the film is, I really wanted to love this movie. I've been waiting for this movie. Basically since I read Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller. I thought that was going to go down, and I really enjoyed like half of the film, which is basically focused on a lot of Batman detective stuff, just Ben Affleck just being a kick-ass Batman. But right through, 50% of the film, I just lost interest somehow. I don't know if it was structure or the lack of character development or what is it? I don't know. I don't know. Like, I was gonna say something, but either way, you catch my drift. So something happened that just switch went off, and I could care less about this film. I could have walked out of the theater, and I could have been. Like, wow, I think I could have red-boxed this movie.
Wow.
It was that disappointing for me and, well, the guys I saw it with, and I think people in the theater as well. It's not that, it wasn't entertaining. It was just not what I hoped it would be. And I just hope that there's a director's cut that comes out, which is extended, and it explains a lot of the stuff that is wrong with this film. Either way, I still want to see it one more time with an open mind, maybe an IMAX, to see if I can really, really get into it. But either way, yeah, that's my initial thoughts.
Definitely, and as we record this, it's been about, it's been a few days since the movie's been out officially. We've had some time to kind of sit on it and let it sit with us a little bit, Seamus and I especially.
Yeah.
Antonio, can you think of a particular point in the movie where you thought that it started to go south?
Probably. I would say right when I think just when Lex goes into the Genesis chamber and starts doing this weird, doomsday makeshift birth type thing that's going on, which is like, why is this happening? I don't know if the email, the Justice League email, is before or after this, or like during. I think it's just that point where I was like, wow, that was very lame and unoriginal, and I think this could have been done a lot better. Or is there something that I missed? Probably. Actually, the most anticipated moment in the film, which is probably Beavis. It's Batman versus Superman.
Right, the fight itself.
The fight itself. By that point, I'm like, wow, this really isn't that good.
Gotcha,
I really wanted it to be so kick-ass, but from the biggest action scenes, you would say, I guess, were the less interesting for me. And it's probably that whole like climax and finale that was just meh. I really didn't get into it. I preferred the beginning, just the intro with the Batman and a couple of cool cinematic shots with Superman. But other than that, yeah.
All right, so Antonio, hold that thought for a second. John, did you want to weigh in on what were your thoughts of seeing this movie? Obviously, you and I had anticipated this for so long after just loving Man of Steel. What were your initial thoughts of it coming out of the theater?
Yeah, my initial thoughts, like you and I have talked about it, and I agree at least on the initial part of, I really wanted to love this film. And I came out really liking the film, actually, for me. I didn't love it. Now, I loved Man of Steel. For me, I actually think Man of Steel is the best comic book movie. I know that's pretty big, especially with how divided it is. I just think it's a masterpiece, how it's done. And that one just really tops Batman v Superman. But with that said, I did really like Batman v Superman. It has its problems, and we can go over those in a little bit. But there's a few check boxes that I was looking for. There's a few. Let's see. The first one is Ben Affleck going to be a good Batman, and he's going to be a good Bruce Wayne, and I think he's the quintessential Batman and Bruce Wayne. To me, this is the Batman. I actually didn't care for Christian Bale's Batman that much because really it was just solely on how he talked. I could not. For me, when I watched those movies, it was hard for me to even believe that was Batman talking. Like, I would watch that whole movie. I would love that all of the Nolan movies if Christian Bale's Batman didn't talk. That was just me. So with Ben Affleck, I thought he did a fantastic job of both. Very convincing Batman, very vicious, amazing fight scenes. I like that he has a voice modulator. That would make sense.
Right.
And then Bruce Wayne, he was a detective, but yet he was still kind of like almost James Bond-ish when he was talking with, the ladies and talking with Wonder Woman. So I really like that. So that was a good checkbox. Another one is, are the fights going to be good? Just the fights in themselves. And I felt like it lived up to expectation for me because I thought, well, this is Superman. How are you going to go up against Superman? He pretty much has everything, and Batman's just a man. And it lived up to expectation because Batman had so much time to prepare and research and develop weapons and gain weapons and all that stuff. And Superman, really, all he wanted to do was talk, while Batman was trying to kill him with full-fledged plan. And it made sense. It pretty much evened out quite back and forth. So I thought that was good. And then the other thing is there going to be a good end fight? And I thought the end fight was fun. I thought it was fun to watch. So with that said, that's why I really liked it. There are problems in it. there's just it was just the storytelling was sporadic, and it just did not flow. Man of Steel just flowed so well. Everything made sense. It continued on to this. Each piece continued and built on top of each other. This one was a bit all over the place, and so I feel like each scene is great on itself, but it didn't go well together. It just was too all over the place.
Gotcha.
So that's my initial kind of reaction to the movie.
Okay, no, that's all fair. That's all fair. I definitely want to premise this by saying that I think all four of us were fans of Man of Steel. I think we all really enjoyed that one. I do know that a lot of people had a problem with Man of Steel, and basically the consensus that I've kind of gotten down to it comes down to two things: the tone of the movie and the destruction at the end. And I feel like this movie had a chance to kind of win some of those people back, and I don't know if they quite, got the job done as far as that goes. I mean, maybe they did. I mean, it remains to be seen. I've heard from some people who didn't like Man of Steel who liked this one. So, I mean, I guess it's possible out there.
I wouldn't think it would win those people over. Just speculating, just because they just did a whole bunch more of damage, which is what people were mad about earlier.
Right. So, but to your point there, I don't think it. I think they had a chance to kind of correct whatever people felt was wrong about Man of Steel, and I don't think they quite did that on this one. I mean, there are a lot of things where I felt that this movie fell short on. However, it had some stuff that I liked on there too. I mean, there were a lot of cool moments. It was just so cool seeing those three characters on screen looking the way they did. It looked like something out of a Jim Lee comic. It was fantastic. Let's talk about how the movie opened up for a second. I thought it was a really interesting, sort of artfully done montage on how Bruce Wayne's parents got killed. And I remember some people were complaining, it's like, do we need to see another Batman origin story? To which I will say, yes, because this is a new version of it, and we don't want people, getting confused about oh wait, this happened in The Dark Knight, how come this isn't happening in there? And I think sometimes you need to do stuff like that just to because you don't want to assume anything. You want people to know that this is a different version of the character than what came before. What do you guys think? What did you guys think about that sequence?
Opening?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I just got done talking, so I'm gonna let someone else take the stage.
Well, I really liked the music they used for the opening. I was impressed, and it's also a major plot point of the film, and so I guess it's really necessary.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's just Zack Snyder had to do it. If you get your shot at pulling off Thomas Wayne and Martha Wayne's death, you go for it. That's kind of that's like directing a Star Wars movie. It's a dream. If you get to do it, go for it. And I don't know. But though I was having a conversation earlier, was this actually something that happened, or was it a dream that Bruce was having? Because someone made the point that this might have been just a nightmare, like a recurring nightmare or dream. It's not 100% how it went down. It's just another vision or dream that he's having.
There were definitely elements of that, like when the bats surrounded him and he started floating. That's where I was like, whoa, wait a minute, what's happening?
Yeah,
But then
I got a little worried there.
But then they're like, oh, that's how the dream starts. I'm like, oh, okay, it's a dream. I'll let that go. But
I think it was smart. I think it was smart to just make it the opening credits. Just get it out of the way.
Yeah,
this is the
like
first thing that you see.
Yeah,
a montage. Everybody knows it, but you have to establish it for this universe since it hasn't technically been established.
Right? No.
So
I agree.
Get it out of the way in that opening sequence, which I really liked, except for the whole bats, lifting him up.
Yeah, that was
which magically without touching him type of thing. It was that was a little weird for me. But then they kind of retconned it by saying, "Oh, it was a dream." That's how they pulled me into the light type of thing. So Yeah, that's what I literally said that to myself in the theater. I said, "Oh, okay, I get it now." Okay.
That shot,
Exactly.
that shot of the gun going off, like killing Martha Wayne, that was implied to be pretty brutal. It's like, oh my god, she got shot in the face.
Yeah, that was brutal. That was vicious.
I mean, I'm glad they didn't show that. If it was like Watchmen, they would be showing like blood splattering everywhere. But I'm glad they didn't go with that. But I mean, it was implied to be pretty brutal.
Yeah, that was something else. That was shooting the mom. I mean, that was point blank in the face too. That was inside the necklace. You know, that was rough.
I think it definitely did set the tone for the whole movie as far as like what we were in for, as far as how intense it was, for sure.
Right. Speaking of getting shot in the face, that original that sequence of Lois in the desert and that photographer that got shot. Well, apparently, according to Zack Snyder, that was, in fact, Jimmy Olsen. Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me.
Which, I mean, I don't know. I think that's kind of a slap in the face to the fans. It's like, if you didn't want to use Jimmy Olsen, don't use him. But then, like, don't bring him on there just to kill him. I just thought that was unnecessary. I mean, I know he's not a huge character in the grand scheme of things, but he's still like he's still a very important, supporting character. He's Clark Kent's best friend. It's like, I don't know. It's like, why would you do that?
Well, he was used so many times in the comics and in the animated series. He was just constantly involved, and you could have just had him like fetch paper for Perry White or something.
Right.
If you don't want to use him. It was kind of weird.
Yeah. But I mean, they didn't really overly say it in the movie, so in my mind, that's not Jimmy. In my head, it's someone else using the alias. It was a CIA plant, which was weird.
It was.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so it was weird. It was odd, even if it is Jimmy Olsen. It was odd that he was, part of the CIA all of a sudden. Like, had he been working for the planet beforehand, or I didn't even know.
Yeah,
it was.
Lois never said his name, did he? I mean, did she?
No, I mean, I heard that they actually, like, he might say his name in, like, the unrated director's cut or something, but...
Oh, okay.
It's like one of those things that didn't make it to the final thing, so it's like, I don't know if I count it.
Right, yeah. That's not canon, right?
Right, not canon.
I mean, it's... Yeah.
In my head, it's not canon.
Right, exactly.
I did love that opening scene with Superman flying through the atmosphere, and you're kind of the cameras from like our point of view looking up at this guy.
How great was that?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I love that.
The final fight sequence from like Bruce's point of view, that was gorgeously done. That was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were turned off, I think, because of like sort of like the 9/11 type imagery that it evoked and everything, which, I mean, I understand that's a sensitive subject. Obviously, that actually happened. Obviously, in this case, I thought it gave the situation a little bit more weight, a little more gravitas, and I thought it didn't bother me at all. I think it added to the fact that, yeah, there are stakes here, there are consequences, these things happen, and, it didn't bother me at all.
I think that's one of the things that I actually love about the film is these moments where the imagery is so powerful. And one of the first powerful images is just Bruce Wayne running towards the rubble of what, could have been something like the Twin Towers, This guy is running into it. People are running away. This guy is running into it with no fear. That's the superhero that we want. Just the guy who would go in there. And he's saving people along the way. Yeah.
That's why we love these characters, because that's why we love Bruce Wayne. Not because of all the... I mean, yeah, we love all the powers, we love all the cool gadgets and everything and all the things they can do, but at the end of the day, man, that's why we love these characters, because they are good people, and that they're the kind of guy who will do stuff like that to save other people, and that's what it's all about, man. So that imagery from the trailer always really stuck with me. So it was cool to see that, and it was heartbreaking to see him save that girl and her to say that her mom was in the building, and it's like, oh man, it's just heartbreaking.
Right. I thought that opening sequence in Metropolis, I wasn't expecting to see obviously we all know it's going to be from Batman's point of view, but I wasn't expecting to see that shot where in Man of Steel they had the plane that had Superman's baby ship or whatever,
right? Where it
and they flew it
into
they flew it into the world machine so that way they can turn on the Phantom Zone. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
And I wasn't expecting to see that. And actually, for me, I know everyone says the buildings crash, which is rightfully so, but when that plane hit that world engine, that instantly brought me back to 9/11 because that's the first memory I have. I was in class and I saw that plane go into the building. Now, granted, this was a world engine it crashed into, but just the fact that the whole situation, when it crashed into, I thought, whoa, this is too familiar.
Yeah.
This is way familiar. I thought that was crazy, even though I should have expected that. I didn't realize he would be able to see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a powerful thing because, again, it's like, and maybe it's a little sensitive with some people who've seen it because, like, we've kind of seen stuff like that happen in real life, and it's a, I know it was a long time ago, but it's still like a sore spot. But I mean, I think in that situation, it made sense.
I feel like it was a really well done disaster, probably one of the most well done disaster scenes I've seen in a movie as well, just because it brought a sense of realism to a superhero movie. Like this is how one person possibly could react, even like showing Bruce driving around, trying to get to Wayne Tower. It showed how people would react to an alien being attacking, and like it really kind of brought that. It made it more immersive that way, I thought.
That's a great point. I think part of what makes these movies so divisive is those scenes. It just seems so real, and we connect to it so much because when the Marvel films during the Avengers or Captain America or anything like that, when they're crashing rubble and buildings and all that stuff, I don't have that same feeling, and I think I feel like it's I love the Marvel films, but it's not. It doesn't feel real. It feels like I'm watching something for entertainment. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I feel like that's part of why it makes this so divisive. Is because maybe it just at moments it feels so real.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, there's something to that. Let's talk about some of the acting performances in there. We mentioned Ben, just who I thought was great as Bruce and as Batman. What did you guys think of the job that Henry did as Superman? This is his second time out in the role. How did you guys feel about the job he did, or what he was given to do, I should say?
Honestly, I mean, what few lines and what few actions he actually had. I mean, he did a well enough job, but it didn't really even seem like he was. To me, this is just my opinion. It didn't really even seem like he was an actor in his own movie. That was one of the weak points of the movie to me. Was him. He was more of a. I've heard it said that he was more of a plot device than he was an actor in the movie, and I kind of feel the same way, and I'm a little disappointed because I feel like Henry Cavill is a great Superman. I enjoyed him in Man of Steel, so I don't know. I feel like it was wasted potential.
You guys remember that conversation we had, and you remember that podcast that was never recorded?
Yes, yes, I do.
That conversation we had about I planted that. Who's going to be the main character of the film? Is it going to be Batman or Superman? So I guess we have our answer here. It's kind of a divided. Like someone just said, Superman was more of a plot device than an actual main character, if you will.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
we would say that Bruce Wayne is more of the main guy here, right?
It's definitely felt that way at points, at least in my mind.
I mean, it felt like we saw glimpses of Clark Kent and like the smiling and the upbeat and the serious reporter, all of that in there. Sort of like it seems like we had glimpses of Clark Kent, but it didn't seem like we really got there as far as like him expressing his personality and just kind of being Superman, being Clark Kent, and it's just. There were a few things that happened that were out of character, I thought. I mean, as heartbreaking of a moment as it was, where he was like, well, I guess nobody stays good forever, and the inner turmoil that he had when Lex had his mom, which we'll get into that later. But it's almost like, the fact that he almost considered killing Batman, I was like, I don't know. I don't think he would do that. I think he would immediately go and try to get help from Batman, and I think he tried for a little bit, but could have tried a little bit harder. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just.
You didn't have to push him right off the bat. He did. Yeah, I know. It's just like it just seemed like Batman got in his face once, and he's just like, boom. All right, we're gonna fight, and it bothered me.
A couple little side notes about Henry Cavill's performance. Even and this seems like nitpicking, but it kind of stuck out to me on first viewing. Like some of his facial expressions, the little subtle things, like when he went in for the Senate hearing. I was kind of waiting for him to be a little bit more less intimidating, a little bit more friendly, and almost almost maybe talking to some of the guards and being like, "Hi, it's okay. I just want to talk."
But he just came back from talking to his mom, right. And his mom was like, you don't owe these people anything.
That's true.
Everyone, just go in there, you be whoever you want to be, and he decides to be just the badass, who's just been called to a hearing. I don't have to answer to any of you. This is just a courtesy.
Right.
Yeah, it really was a courtesy. Yeah.
I almost expected him to look a little bit more horrified after the bomb went off. I almost expected him to be almost.
You don't felt like he. I thought he did a fantastic job. This is kind of an argument for here, right. But I felt like I thought his face was perfect for when he was in the flames. He was just a split second, too late.
Right.
But that was enough to where everybody died, and he literally was standing there in so much turmoil. Wow, I cannot believe I missed that.
I think that's one of the best.
It's like he didn't know what to think. I agree. It was like he just all the gravity of the situation kind of was hitting him at some point. He's just like, this actually happened. This is just going to make everything worse.
Yeah. Right.
I mean,
that's a good point. Again, I've only seen it once so far, so I'm sure upon a second viewing, maybe I'd probably notice it a little bit more. It's just, I don't know. I guess that was me kind of being in my own head at the point. So I mean, it's
you wanted that that he does just right after he kills Zod. No.
Yeah.
Maybe not that much. Maybe just take it down. I don't know. I don't know what I was looking for, but I mean, but you guys have a good point. It's a shocking thing, and he was shocked. So
I will say, go ahead. No,
I just wanted to point out that I have seen the movie a second time. I actually saw it the other day, and I will say this. It's a general consensus that the movie is better the second time, and I have to agree with that. I kind of knew what I was getting into, and I was able to enjoy the good parts a little bit more just because I knew what was coming. I'm coming in from that perspective.
Seamus, did you notice a few things that you didn't pick up the first time around?
Oh yeah, definitely. When that scene with the nightmare scene, the scene right after the nightmare scene, I was really alert at that point. I was making sure I caught some things, and I am almost positive that character that came out of the lightning or warped into the Batcave, I'm almost positive that was the Flash. It looked like he had some kind of special suit that allowed him to break the time barrier, I know he's done it without the suit in the comics.
Right.
So possibly some kind of special equipment, but that was one thing that I was looking for. Another thing I really was looking at is how many people exactly Batman actually killed in the movie.
Yes, let's talk about that for a little bit. He seemed to be a little fast and loose with the killing role. It seemed to be a little more reckless than we're used to seeing Batman, and sometimes it worked, but other times it's I don't know. I don't know if he'd do that. What were your thoughts on that scene the second time around, Seamus?
The second time around, I kind of knew it was coming, and some of it seemed a little unnecessary. But a point was made earlier about maybe the problem we have with these movies is maybe it's a little too real, and that might be the case with this Batman as well. Right. It could be that we're just this is how a Batman, a character like this who basically suffers from post-traumatic stress and makes up for that as a person who, takes vengeance on killers and thugs. This is how he makes up for it. And I heard another person, I was talking with my friends after I watched it, and another person made a good point where they said, well, I mean, he wasn't exactly fighting thugs this time. I mean, he branded thugs at the first part of the movie, but these were these were hired killers. These were assassins. So
That's
I mean,
true.
that's another good point to be made as far as why he did what he did, the actions he did. I mean, personally, I'm still not completely okay with that. Maybe I'm just I don't want to call myself a Batman purist. I don't want to sound pretentious, but like, I don't like my Batman to kill. That's just a personal preference on my part.
Yeah,
I can definitely.
It didn't seem like he was outright killing people, but more like he was like, I'm not trying to murder people, but if they die, they die. I mean, at this point, all bets are off. I do think he could have stopped the guy with the flamethrower, but I guess
that
one was.
If you look at it, I mean, look at Christian Bale's Batman, which is the one that literally said no kill rule, basically. He's the one that, I mean, look at Raj Al Ghul, right? He was on that train, and he basically blew up, the tracks for that train, saying, "Oh well, I blew up the tracks, and I don't have to save you." What is that? I mean, that's basically saying, "I don't care that you die.
I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you."
Which means I don't care that you die. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and I don't care that you die. You get what I'm saying? It's kind of
I kind of love that scene, by the way.
What I was going to say about this Batman and the whole killing aspect was I mentioned this to Jack before, like earlier this week. We just had a quick talk, but I do feel in this movie there was a turning point. You physically saw a turning point of a new Batman, of a different Batman, and that when he, at the beginning scene, when he saves that girl, after he saw his employee pretty much die in that building, he saves that girl. That girl tells him, my mom died in that building. And when he looks up and he sees Superman and Zod, and when he sees his face, I felt like that was the turning point of where Bruce Wayne / Batman, his whole world has now turned upside down. And he's thinking, wow, everything that I've done, it doesn't matter. That's nothing. There's other beings out there that can destroy this human race. And that turning point, I felt like he was just on a one-minded mission to basically, eradicate this new race or this new being. And he didn't care who was in the way. If he wasn't necessarily going to kill them, but he had one mission, and if you got in the way, something was going to happen to you. And if you died, you happened to die.
Right.
That's the way I felt about it.
That's a good point, and I agree with that. I mean, I don't think you necessarily had to kill that guy with the flamethrower, but whatever, it happened. Anyways, by the way, John, you were totally right about predicting that the World Engine was going to bring kryptonite to to Earth. You called that one.
Yeah, well, it was in that. I mean, like, again, I happened to watch Man of Steel again right before our podcast, and I just saw all those rocks, with it. I thought, I wonder if that's how it comes. So,
well, you called it.
I was that one and when Superman caught that grenade. Remember I told you guys, I said that grenade, I guarantee you it's going to explode into kryptonite.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys remember that.
Let's talk about the dream sequences for a second. We know Zack Snyder loves a lot of like surreal images, and he likes to make these big fantasy sequences. I thought the desert sequence was really, really cool. I know, like, at first I was like, why does Batman have a gun? But then it seemed like it was a stun gun or something like that. It didn't seem like he was like shooting people like that, or at least not in the way.
In the desert scene?
Yeah.
Oh, he was
Yeah,
flat out killing people in that.
He was
scene.
straight up shooting people. That's another thing I looked for. He was straight up shooting people. But
No,
it's a
he
dream
was murdering.
sequence,
He was
yeah.
murdering people. He shot him in the face.
Oh, really? I mean,
Yeah,
I thought he was
that
shooting
happened.
at like little like stun bullets or something like that.
No. In fact, he picked up the soldier's weapons when he got out of that truck and fired him right.
That's
right at
right.
him.
That's right. Yeah, he did that. So
So-
I mean, he was. I mean, it was in. They were at war at that point. So I mean,
Can
Yeah,
someone
that's really
please
cool.
explain the Superman police?
that.
So that was just a dream sequence. That was really like Batman's nightmare.
Yeah,
that-
he was dreaming that like Superman took over the world and destroyed a lot of it and like enslaved people and
Had his own army.
yeah.
I've heard it said that it was kind of a reference to Injustice as well.
Mhm.
I mean, that
It
could
is.
possibly, yeah, that could possibly be. I mean, maybe it's just Zack Snyder kind of having a little fun, throwing some stuff in for the fans.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh,
those
yeah.
and those insect people. What's up with those
Yeah,
insect
exactly.
people?
They looked a lot like parademons from Apocalypse, didn't they?
So here's part of one of the several problems with the film and how I said it's sporadic.
Right.
Not only are the sequences sporadic where the flow isn't very even, but they give so many nods to the comics that if you don't know these characters or these events, you're literally left wondering. Like the parademons and Darkseid, which is the Thanos equivalent for Marvel.
Mhm.
Those parademons, those insect things, are Darkseid's like part of his army,
Yeah.
and that was all insinuated in the movie. But if you don't know this kind of stuff, you're lost.
Well, also,
that's
also in
kind
the
of the
context
problem.
of the story, like, how would Bruce Wayne know about them? Like, why would he imagine a big Omega symbol in there? Like, it didn't really make sense. Like, can Batman see the future now? Is that like an ability we didn't know about before? Like
So
again,
the theory,
how would that be in his head?
The theory I read on that is that it wasn't just like Batman's dream, but it was actually the Flash that was. I don't know if I guess he's able to break into dreams now. He can run so fast. I don't know how that works, but apparently he was kind of giving this Bruce Wayne glimpses of what could happen, and Bruce Wayne was just thinking it was his normal dream. That's what I've read a little bit.
Right.
So
I mean, we'll
It's-
see. I mean, there's a lot of stuff like that which, which was like cool to look at, but like to me, it didn't really make sense when you thought about it in the terms of the story that we were seeing. Now, again, maybe
Right.
this will be explained in Justice League Part 1 and 2, but it was just such a left turn in there where I didn't feel like it fit in the movie that we were watching.
For me, I loved the whole. Again, I have to say, each sequence, I like it. It just doesn't flow well together. But
I completely agree.
I really did like the nightmare scene, and I loved it when Flash came in because I love that whole like giving you little clues here and there of major events, and that's obviously a major event, and I love that the Flash was saying these open-ended type stuff where he was saying Lois is the key. Wait, the key to what? You were right about him. Right about what? Who is him? And then he literally said twice, "Am I too early? Am I too soon?" So
That was
it's almost
weird,
like
yeah.
So it's like, oh man, there's so many layers in what he's trying to say. I love that kind of stuff. That just adds more to the movie for me. It might have been a little bit weird timing, but I thought the scene itself, I really like the layers that they give you on that.
I feel that all we need is just an extended version to make everything make sense. I really hope that is what is wrong with all of this. A lot of stuff was cut out, and all of these scenes that are like just random in placing will actually make sense in order and in structure if there's like a special Blu-ray release later.
Yeah.
I definitely watched a 3-hour version of this movie. I mean, I agree. Like, the director's cut is definitely going to be in high demand for this movie, just to see exactly what everyone had in mind. And as far as like the Flash, not to get the conversation too off the rails, but as far as like the Flash scene, I feel like if the other superhero cameos in that movie were done almost as delicately as that one, it would have gone a lot better too. But
yeah. That's a good
instead
point.
of emails.
Yeah, I mean, like the Justice League stuff was really cool to see them on screen, but it almost felt a little too forced.
Right. I thought it was kind of weird that Lex had, icons and symbols already for each logos for each person.
And he hired
someone actually took
logos.
the time to design that shit.
Yeah, you could have just had literally like just a number and letter sequence file for each one or something.
Did he
you don't have to have
did he
a
have
logo.
like graphic designers from on payroll for LexCorp like doing that?
It's
Basically.
Hey, we should call this guy Aquaman. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like that. As cool as it was, it didn't really need to be there, and it kind of took you out of the movie for a little bit. And, and this may sound like a cop-out answer, but it's like, you know what? We love these movies. We love that you're putting effort into them. They don't need to be that complicated, though. They really don't.
Yeah. I'm kind of wondering if this is just... I mean, I thought this when I saw after I got done watching the movie. I'm just wondering if this is just like a really open-ended film where once the other films come out, this is gonna make more sense.
Yeah,
I agree.
With Man of Steel, they had to make a complete movie just because they didn't have a universe set up.
Right.
And so now that they had a universe set up with Man of Steel, and they had plans already for the future, I wonder if they just went ahead and said, hey, let's just, make this a setup movie. And even though, people might be confused about it, we're going to make the other ones and it'll make more sense later.
Yeah, but you're like insulting your audience and you're like really not taking into consideration. Like people are just paying to watch a full movie. Like, we want to see a full movie right now. We don't want to see a full movie 10 years later. That makes sense now. It's like, bro, you had like 3 years to make this good. What happened?
Right.
We trusted you. What happened with those emails?
Like
I agree with you. I'm just trying to figure out like why it is this way,
Right.
No, I
agree with you on that.
Makes sense.
I know, John. I love it. You're trying to like find the good in all of this, and that's why I love talking to you. Most guys.
Well, I don't try to be a blind fanboy. I like to call movies as it is.
Of course.
That's why I said I wanted to love this film, but I didn't love it. I did like it. I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. And I just, so many ways I want to be like, maybe it's this route or that route. I don't know.
Did anyone here not watch the second trailer?
Oh my gosh! How can you not watch the second trailer?
Of course, and so we know exactly how the movie ended because of it.
You remember what I was telling you guys in the first podcast? I think that marketing guy, got fired in that second trailer.
I don't know how that got okayed, really.
I feel like after watching the movie, there's no way he went unscathed. I feel like he really did get fired.
By the way, for people listening, they keep referring to a first podcast. I did record an original like preview thing with these guys in case I didn't mention it before, but it didn't get recorded for whatever reason, so unfortunately that got lost.
Lex Luthor broke into your computer and erased it.
Right? Cover up. Zack Snyder.
Or was it the graphic design people that did the logos?
Right, it was the guys we should call him the Flash.
Yeah, it's crazy. They said you saw maybe 6% of the movie with all those trailers, but yet that second trailer spoiled quite a bit of the movie.
Yeah.
It's crazy how little these directors actually have a say in what goes out into the public, because this was literally the opposite of what Star Wars did. They went like, I'm pretty sure there was a focus group. And the focus group say, "Hey guys, the final cut of the film is not very good. We don't get it." And they freaked out. It was like, "Holy shit! we have to make a second trailer and like show all the good stuff, or else no one will watch it. And then they're like, whoa, that's cool. So you only have one surprise in the entire 2.5 hours, just one shocker. That's it. You basically told us who the main villain is going to be. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, actually,
they
no,
should have
cool.
saved They should have saved Doomsday for sure.
I feel like it really would have helped the movie, at least as far as shock factor. I mean, people probably would have still reacted negatively to how the character was designed. I mean, it was a poorly designed. It looked exactly like the troll from Lord of the Rings. I mean, it did. It really did.
Like Doomsday had a butt. It had a butt.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I don't know what that was about.
It's like a baby butt. I don't know.
Why are we talking about Doomsday's ass?
Why not?
It was right there. It was your face.
Jeez.
Oh god.
Wow.
Oh man. But as far as somebody messed up on that trailer. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought with that. But as far as exactly. As far as the whoever came up with that second trailer, there was definitely a screw up there.
Yeah,
and
somebody got fired because of that.
I think everything would have been better without that existing ever.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
And I do wish, even though I love that final trailer, I do wish that they could have somehow started off with that scene. You know, what I'm talking about is is when Batman pretty much goes for Martha, Superman's mom, and saves the day type of thing. Since we saw that in the trailer, I kind of wish that's more towards the beginning, where maybe when he's, trying to be Batman again after taking off for so many years.
Yeah.
I wish that was more towards the beginning because, you're just watching this whole movie and you're seeing the big epic battles, and I'm thinking to myself, well, there's still another scene coming up. I like to be a little more surprised towards the end. I don't want to know what's coming up in the end.
Yeah, because that epic action scene happened after the climax of the movie. Essentially, it seems.
Yeah, it was.
And it's just like, okay, this whole third act is now a mess. I mean, we don't know. I mean, now we're dealing with the saving Martha and everything, but we got. I mean, the scene was cool, and like you said before, the scene itself was cool. Just like other individual scenes in the movie, just the placement didn't really make sense. I have to with that.
Guys,
it really
is. Can we talk for a second about Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor?
Holy
crap! Like what happened there? Like, I mean, he started out pretty strong. Like, I liked all the stuff about him being like the Zuckerberg, like Google, like tech billionaire. All that was fine. All that was like, okay, he's got a new take on Lex Luthor. All that is good. He's a little quirky, but okay. I'm fine with it. But the more he was in this movie, the more unhinged he became, and the more just like mustache twirly, like. I mean, by the end of the movie, he was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I mean, it's like it just didn't fit. I didn't think that's what Lex Luthor should have been. What do you guys think about that?
I'll definitely say it was a little jarring, just in general. But on a second viewing, again, like I said, this movie is way better the second time. On a second viewing, kind of knowing what you were getting into with Lex, with the exception of the last scene, which is just nuts. It really is, and it's out of place. Ironically, it's after he shaves his head, so it's just that scene is just completely over the top.
Yeah.
But it wasn't as bad. He was just especially the scene on the rooftop, him talking to Superman. I actually enjoyed it a little more the second time, just because you could tell he was more diabolical. Of course, I still question his motivations a little bit, but
yeah, let's talk about
the
his plan for a little bit. He doesn't like Superman. He wants to kill Superman. We're not really sure why, but he implies that it's because his dad beat him when he was a kid, and he has a thing about, he has a whole thing about him not believing in God, and he sees Superman as God, and he wants to kill God. I'm like, okay, that's his motivation.
Actually, when I watched it, in the beginning, he didn't just talk about Superman, but when he was talking to the senator, that Holly Hunter character, the the lady senator that ended up dying. He was actually not just talking about Superman, but he was saying that there are other meta humans out there, and he was talking about having a silver bullet to fight everybody off instead of having to depend on kindness of monsters. That's what he said.
Right. No, and I understood that, but then his plan on doing that was, I'm going to build an uncontrollable monster of my own. So
that was just being psychotic. Psychotic.
And I'm thinking like, hey Lex, what's your plan? After he kills Batman and Superman, like what do you do? You got Doomsday on your hands. Now what?
Yeah.
it didn't it didn't make sense to me.
Does Darkseid control Lex Luthor at all? Like manipulate Lex Luthor?
I mean,
in the comics or
I
whatever?
don't think so.
That might be implied, like especially with the deleted scene with Lex. I don't know if you saw that. That might be implied.
I just watched that. That was just weird.
Yeah, it was odd.
With the SWAT team coming in?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that might be implied that he maybe made Doomsday maybe under the orders of Darkseid. But again, it's like it wasn't included in the movie, so we really have no actual way of knowing. It wasn't canon. So we have no way of actually knowing.
And like,
Yeah.
And at the end, he's like, the bell has been unrung. Darkseid's coming, and he didn't say Darkseid, but it's like that's who he was talking about. And it's like, wait a minute, why would he be happy about that? Like, what?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I actually have about 75 to 80% appreciation for what he did with the character. There's about 25% where I'm like, that is just, I don't like that. But I mean, I liked that he was a little cuckoo. I actually liked that, but he was smart. Now, mind you, this is actually Lex Jr. because he did say, mind you, my father is the Lex behind the corp.
Right.
So this is kind of like Lex Jr., which is now, the Google, the new version,
so the
Google
exec. Be like a misdirect where they bring in Lex Sr., who's not dead, and they try to do that.
I don't know if they'll explore that route, but I'm just kind of wondering if that's like their way of saying, helping out with the, this is already a built corporation by a different man, and now this is your Lex Luthor that's kind of like a Google exec, which is pretty much spot on the money. Having to work with Google a little bit for a couple years, the top execs over there, they're all like hippies almost. They're just like free flowing everything, which is crazy, which is awesome.
Like very Silicon Valley type of guys.
Well, just like they'll have a basketball hoop there, and their office is literally the table right next to the basketball court and stuff like that. So, but what I was gonna say is I do appreciate that he was a little bit cuckoo, but I don't like that he was gained access to the Kryptonian ship. He wanted to build this monster. Maybe because he just was too far gone at that point.
But at the same time, no good motivation for this that we see, at least in the movie.
To make Doomsday, there's not really the greatest motivation. And for him to cut his hand, that way he could have some blood in there, like that, what is that all about? Like, this is, you've got literally the body of Zod there. This is Kryptonian, a general Kryptonian, and you're having a little bit of human blood in there to try and make this monster? That doesn't make sense.
Maybe
he's in a Genesis chamber full of like other Kryptonian DNA, and he's like, you know what they need? They need some of my blood in there. Like, what? And also, he probably could have just pricked his finger and got the job done, but he sliced his hand. It's like, okay, just for good measure.
Yeah. Right.
So I do appreciate his character and the way he his cadence of the character, the way he gave off his lines. There was just some actions where I'm like, okay, I don't need him in the Genesis chamber trying to make a Doomsday. I don't like that. I didn't buy it.
Just as far as motivation goes, I mean, like the motivations for why he wanted to kill Batman kind of made a little bit more sense because Batman basically broke into his facility and stole the kryptonite, and so I think he wanted to get Superman to kill Batman in order to accomplish that. But yeah, as far as Doomsday, I agree. I didn't really see any motivation besides pure insanity to want to create that monster.
Right. It was just he wanted to be Dr. Frankenstein for a second, and he got to do it. So there you go.
Yeah. I mean, like, once the scene happened where they're having to fight off Doomsday, I kind of enjoyed that because, you know, you got to see Wonder Woman come in and kind of hold her own a little bit until Superman can come in and help out. I enjoyed all that. I just didn't like how Doomsday came about.
Yeah.
You know?
And, of course, the end, they really did it. They actually killed Superman.
Yeah. You were really upset about that, Jack.
I was. I'm still upset about it now.
It did, and honestly, the problem I had with it is it just did not have the emotional impact that the death of Superman should have.
Yeah.
Like, I was watching it, and I was still kind of getting over everything when I saw it happen. I was like, wait, is he dead? And then you didn't even have time to register that he was dead until like the last scene where they moved the dirt, and I was like, oh, he's not. They're not even going to keep him dead for the next movie. So it was odd.
And I mean,
well, I wonder if he will be dead for the next movie. You know, I feel like maybe that was just a nod saying, you know, there is going to be a point that he comes back, but not. But I didn't feel like he would come back in the next movie. I know. That's
also,
the way
like,
I kind of took it.
When they bring him back, because you know they're going to bring him back somehow, but like when that happens, like how are they going to explain that? Like if you thought Superman was overpowered before, guess what? Now he can come back from the dead.
Yeah.
And
the Jesus parallels will be complete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And John and I were talking about this the other day. I mean, obviously, when he was a baby, Jor-El put the Codex thing into his blood, before he was shot off from Krypton. So I'm wondering if that might factor into it, where Jor-El's like, hey, everybody gets one do-over. I don't know how they're going to explain that, and I don't know, even if they do bring him back, like, how are they going to explain, hey, Clark Kent is alive? Because it looked like they had like almost an open casket funeral in Smallville, in the farmhouse, which was weird, but I don't know. It's just like it seems like they really wrote themselves into a corner.
I do know this is Snyder, Nolan, and the two upper execs at WB debated a long time about the death of Superman, and they all agreed that it was necessary and that they apparently have a plan for his resurrection. So I don't. If that's any consolation as to, why it happened that way, I don't think they would have just done it just to see the reaction.
But, I mean,
definitely not.
It seems like it was just done for shock value, and I mean, I know that there's a plan there. I know that they have sequels coming, and I know that they have more stuff they're going to explain. But it's just once you start bringing characters back from the dead, and I'm not saying that I don't want Superman to come back, but it's like if they're going to do it, I hope they have a really good explanation and good plan for it, because if that falls apart, then to me the credibility of the movie goes out the window, because it's like once death is not even a factor, then it's like, what do you do?
Yeah, like in these new films, I don't know, there's this new wave of writers that, or I don't know if it's like our fault or the producers or the directors. It's just like death is not really a consequence anymore, and death is not really, respawning is becoming more and more normal every single day. I say respawn, everyone thinks about like video
style
games, but yeah, but you see these posts on the internet like, oh, this guy died, but not really. There's always but not really, but not really. It happens in Star Wars, it happens in Lord of the Rings, it happens in Doctor Who, it happens all over the place. People
might even happen in Game of Thrones,
but then it can't. I think it's really, basically, it's really, I think it's just really our fault, and it's because if our characters, our favorite characters die, we lose interest and we stop watching. So
that's so true. That is so true.
So, and this is like, we're talking about the future of cinema here, the future of media in general. if death is really no consequence, how is the death of Superman going to shock you at all? Because you know he's coming back. You just know he's coming back somehow. So that's why I said in the first time, I just lost interest. I was like, wow, whoa, so he's dead. Yeah, probably come back in the next movie, whatever.
Yeah, you know he's going
to. It's just, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. As a filmmaker, I just wish things could change up a little bit. Stop thinking about just cashing in on our expectations and kill some people for real. 100%.
I think that's the not to get too much sidetracked here, but I feel like that's the problem that Marvel has. Even though they're so successful, because they're so successful, we want to see more of their characters. But because we want to see more of their characters, there is no sense of real danger in the movies at Marvel.
I think
everybody
Hawkeye
comes back.
I think Quicksilver would disagree with you, John.
Yeah, but I mean, how much time did they give us to fall in love with Quicksilver?
Right. Not a lot.
There is, like Loki. First of all, they had no plans to bring him back at all past the first Thor movie. What happened? He was so loved by fans, they had to bring him back. Mm-hmm. And guess what? They brought him back for Avengers. They're like, okay, now we're gonna kill him off in the second Thor movie, since that'll be his third movie. But guess what? They literally had to bring him back for a reshoot so that he would be alive again. So I feel like, man, Antonio, you hit the nail right on the head.
You really
That's
did.
the problem. Like we want to see more of these characters, and now there's no real sense of danger, and we kind of created it. If
there's no sense of danger, I mean, you can create a sense of danger with like editing and music and performances, but content-wise, these characters will just keep coming back and repackaged and like in your face. That's why I think it was talking about Star Wars, but if Han comes back, I'm out. I'm out of the Star Wars universe. Sorry guys, I'm out, because it would have been no consequence at all.
Yeah.
And in the same way, like if you already teased Superman and his grave and the little rocks moving, it's like, bro, if you do that, you basically killed the shock value of your film.
Well, also, it's like, how do you make a Justice League movie without Superman? You can't do that.
Well, I think it would be more interesting than a Justice League movie with Superman. Actually, I would watch it.
I'm kind of wondering if they did the whole rock movement on the casket. I wonder if they did that so that way, you're expecting him to be. You can actually expect him to come back rather than, saying to yourself, I know this is gonna happen. Watch. If they're gonna?
What if somehow his the casket is being? This is again speculate. What if his casket is being exhumed or something like that? And that was kind of that whole the casket is actually being removed by some other device or something like this. Is just pure speculation, and we're just maybe led to believe that they're obviously gonna lead it.
I would go with that twist.
Dude, that's pretty cool. Okay. I never thought of that. I like that.
I mean, I could be completely wrong, but we can hope. Maybe they have.
No, Seamus, I need you to be right on this one, okay?
All right. No, I have my sources. I'm totally right. Yes, absolutely.
Let's script this out, man. Let's do this.
You do need to go to the writer's room and just demand royalty when they make it happen,
Absolutely.
And rewrite that.
I'll be in contact with Warner Brothers tomorrow. So
seriously, let's get some scripts together, guys. Let's do this.
I like that.
On the same vein, I just wanted to interject this. When you said something about Han coming back for Star Wars, it reminded me the upcoming. This is just my little, because I actually am more of a Marvel fan. So when the upcoming Civil War movie, there's in the Civil War comic arc, there is a very important death in that particular run, and I hope that they actually do it, and I hope that it sticks, just for the sake of bringing that sense of gravity to the situation.
No spoilers.
No, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I really do hope. I really do hope that something happens where they keep where they actually where that actually happens.
I know what you're talking about, Seamus,
Yeah.
and that actor has said he's already filming the 2 Avenger movies. He's going to be starting. So I don't know.
Maybe they'll kill off somebody else, man. I mean, maybe they won't. It's really morbid of me to say, but I do hope they kill off somebody important in this next movie, just for that effect, for that sense of gravity. That's just me, though.
Right. It's our fault because we keep watching them. It's our fault.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, guys, I mean, I gotta tell you, I was really excited about Justice League, and I mean, right now I'm a little skeptical. I'm hoping that they can kind of fix whatever happened in this movie with these future movies, but I gotta say, right now I'm not quite as optimistic as I used to be.
Yeah, let's get some final thoughts before we go. Let's take turns.
I just want to know real quick. We kind of skipped over this one. What did you guys think of the 3rd edition in this movie, which is Wonder Woman? She's kind of big, important part in this, and this is the first Wonder Woman on screen in forever. I don't even know if there's been a Wonder Woman movie or not. I know there was a TV series.
This is the first ever cinematic appearance of the character.
So I want to know what you guys thought. It doesn't have to be anything perplexing. I just want to know what you guys thought.
I thought
it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought she did a great job. We just don't really know anything about her character, or this version of it. So, and I know that she has her own movie coming up, and they're going to explain that, but it's like, it almost seemed like weird to have her in there and not have a little bit more of an explanation in there. It just, I mean, not that I'm complaining, but that's just an observation I made. I just, it felt like we still don't really know enough about her yet, and I'm interested in learning more, though.
Yeah, Seamus and Antonio. Let's start with Seamus first. What would you think?
I really enjoyed the character that Gal Gadot portrayed. I thought she was well cast as well. She's beautiful. She delivered the line. I totally believed her as an Amazon princess, essentially, where nice. I really just bought her as a character. I feel like the way she was introduced was a little weird. But I mean, they established it well enough for the movie, but just it did kind of come out of nowhere in the 3rd act. But I will say this: when they introduced the character and she saved Batman, I loved. I clapped. I mean, the second time I watched
nice.
it, I clapped. I was like, "This is awesome! I got goosebumps. This is great."
Oh, and the music was awesome.
Yeah,
it was perfect. It really was.
The score for Wonder Woman is awesome. Definitely,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do enjoy that. That the score in this movie is getting a little bit more thematic. Like, they have that really booming Superman score. I didn't really notice anything for Batman myself.
Batman's just subtle. Yeah. It's very subtle.
Yeah, it really is. But the fact that they actually have individual scores for the characters is kind of a cool aspect for me. I enjoy movie scores, and
this is pretty modern though. We're not like getting these John Williams type Superman themes anymore.
Right.
This is more for I guess for our day and age, which is pretty much very a lot of percussion, a lot of electronic and digital sounds, but gets the job done, I guess.
Yeah, no, I was on board with the music.
Antonio, what did you think of Wonder Woman, real quick?
I enjoyed it. I really didn't have a problem with it. I was more curious about her origins, which I guess is what they want you to be. Just like where did she come from? Why is she in this movie? Why is she like stealing hard drives and shit?
Right.
You just want to know what's up with that. Except that whole email scene, it was kind of like, wow, this is really forced, bro.
Yeah.
Well, that's not Wonder Woman's fault on that one. That was Lex. I know. That was Lex and his amazing graphics and knowledge and all that stuff.
It was also Chris Terrio
second viewing
and
didn't
David
make that
Goyer's
scene
fault.
any better. I'll tell you that right now. It was still super forced, it was kind of cringeworthy, but it was okay.
Anyways, but when she comes in and kicks ass and she she leaps like like crazy distances, and it's totally believable. It's like, whoa,
Yeah.
this chick's kicking ass, like,
Yeah.
no doubt. And she takes out the lasso. She's like,
Right.
got Doomsday, like,
I like
kick his
that.
ass.
That was pretty rad. Yeah, not gonna
That
lie.
was awesome. That
That
was
was
awesome.
Well, guys, I mean, this is one of those things. We could talk about this movie forever. We could talk about these characters forever. I guess my thoughts on this is like, I'm interested. I'm curiously interested in seeing the next movies. I hope that they don't fall into sort of like what they did with the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, where they try to overcomplicate things. They try to turn too many of these characters, against each other. At a certain point, these movies aren't that difficult to do. I mean, you can keep it simple, relatively speaking. We want to know who the bad guy is, who the good guy is, why the bad guy hates the good guy, and why this is happening, and eventually see the good guy win. Eventually.
I feel like they're just rushing to catch up with Marvel, because I'm pretty sure that these comic book movies, the craze is gonna die out anytime soon. Like, you can say whatever you want, but the same thing is gonna happen to vampires and zombies and all that. Just the comic book genre is gonna go dark eventually, because how much can people actually take? You think
Like
we can
oversaturated
go?
type of thing?
Yeah, it's gonna be super saturated, and the DC section of like films, whatever, they probably know this, and they're like trying to catch up so they can make a buck. And everything, just everything is rushed, and the screenplay is rushed, and all this stuff. I don't know. That's my like kind of final thought right there. And they're trying to catch up as fast as possible, because could you really tolerate 10 more years of just comic book movies that are not that good? Just like
I think that's
mediocre.
Well, I think
guess
that's the point.
Like,
I mean, as long as they keep making good movies, then it'll be
they have
okay.
to be good. Good is the key word.
Yeah.
Make them great.
I don't think the comic book genre is gonna die out any soon. With all due respect, with your opinion, Antonio, everyone's got an opinion. I don't think it's gonna die out any soon. I do think that if you get, I don't know, 3 bad comic book movies in a row, doesn't matter what studio it is, that's when it's in danger.
Yeah.
So when if that happens, then the red light comes on.
It all depends on this Wonder Woman movie, basically, right?
Well,
It was supposed to depend on this one.
Well,
I
It was supposed to depend on this one. It was supposed to depend on the Deadpool movie. It was supposed. I mean, it will. We'll always say that it's kind of riding. The saturation point is riding on the next movie, which, to an extent, it is, because we want these movies to be good. Fans want these movies to be good. People want these movies to be good. The thing is, the source material is there. These are great characters, and these are amazing stories that these characters can tell. It's just interpreting it for film is the trick. And some studios have done an excellent job, some have done an okay job, some not a great job. But it all depends on like you said. It all depends on if there's a couple bad movies. Obviously, the general audiences will be less interested.
Yeah.
But I mean that might not even be the case if they're bad critically, because I mean we've seen Transformers crank out with 8 or however many movies it was, and pieces of crap, and they've always done well financially.
Right.
So
yeah.
it's.
Are we going over our final thoughts? Is that what we're doing, John?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you
it's
for taking
happening,
over
guys.
the
It's
podcast, by the way,
happening.
John.
No, I was just wondering, so that way we didn't get
I know, man. Just bug
too
you
far
guys
in.
there.
Right.
But I mean, look, this movie, it's making money so far. I'm glad that it's making money, because I want these movies to do well. I just, I hope that the next Justice League movies and the other movies to come are good, and that are better, and that they can elevate this and make it sort of redeem it a little bit, because I don't know, just I for one was disappointed coming out of the theater, and like I said, there were some good things, but ultimately I felt like it just could have been done a lot better than it was.
Right.
And I think, and I'm gathering from what you guys are saying that you guys kind of feel very similar to me. Would that be fairly accurate?
I'm gonna give it a second chance.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I'll let somebody else talk about their final thoughts. If are we going around the room here?
Yeah, no.
Talking about it?
Let's close it up right now. So, John, what did you think?
So for me, I do feel this is going to be honest. I do feel again, I really liked the film. It had its problems, but I will say the problems that it did have were not fatal problems. They were actually fixable problems, and that the writing and the editing, that's all very fixable. If you have a bad actor in Ben Affleck as portraying a really horrible Bruce Wayne and really horrible Batman, and you have Gal Gadot portraying a really terrible Wonder Woman, and the action's not even right, that's not easily fixable. No. You have to recast everything. But moving on, I feel like it still opens the universe. It doesn't damage the universe. It just needs to be corrected, and I feel like it is easily correctable in writing and editing.
All right, well, that remains to be seen. We'll definitely have to stay tuned for the next couple years and see what ends up happening with these movies. Guys, I want to thank you all for taking the time to be on this thing. Man, it's been quite a journey going through this.
It really has.
This is probably going to be one of the longest podcasts I've ever posted because there's several different parts to it. But I'm glad we did this. Thank you guys for coming on. I'll have to have you guys back for Civil War when that comes out soon.
Absolutely.
Can't wait.
Probably
unbox it.
Very cool.
I'm excited about Civil War. That's kind of my big movie. I mean, Deadpool's been over. That was the one I was really looking forward to. But Civil War is definitely going to be interesting.
Let's just say this: Winter Soldier is my favorite Marvel movie, Disney Marvel movie.
Yeah. And
so I'm really looking forward to this one because it's done by the same directors.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I think DC should be taking a few notes from Marvel, but that's a whole nother topic of conversation.
Right.
Anyways, guys, thank you so much for being on this. For Seamus, for John, for Antonio, I'm Jack Connor. This is the Phoenix Report. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please make sure you leave your comments. Tweet me with the hashtag Phoenix Report at JackXConnor. I'll be leaving some of these guys' contact info, if they want, where you can check out some of their stuff. You can even check out some of the movies that Antonio and I have done together. Some of them are online, floating out there. I'll post links for that as well. This has been the Phoenix Report. I'm Jack Connor. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you later.